Thank you, Heather. Good afternoon. It was interesting when John had the chart on the funding between roads and public transit that the Congress recently were proposing to get all the dedicated funding from the federal tax all go to highways as opposed to historically splitting it between highways and public transit. And that's now off the table, but that was what they were considering. Give you a little history about SEPTA. This is a little contrast to what Gary was talking about and what John was talking about as far as the new cities and how they develop systems to provide transit into their newer systems. As a matter of fact, I think Gary mentioned a 31% increase in public transit and ridership over the last 20, 25 years. I think a lot of that was driven by the new systems that were established, primarily in the West. But here you're talking about SEPTA, we're talking about an older system. We're the 6th largest transit agency in the United States. Of course, you have New York, Chicago, and LA. And right behind it, you have Washington, D.C., Boston, and SEPTA. And the last three, we're approximately the same size. And you compare us with Boston, we're a very old system. Not quite as old as London, but we're a very old system. A population, we serve 4 million residents. And I'll talk about that a little later. Coverage 2,200 miles, and ridership 300 million annually. Actually, last year we carried 334 million trips, and we have employees of 9,200. This is our rail system. And I'll spend some time on this. We have what you call MetroRail, the subway system. We have the Broad Street going north and south. That was built in the 1920s. We have the Market-Frankfurt line that has recently been totally reconstructed, that was built in 1905. We have subway surface lines, trolley lines, that here they're in the surface, but they go underground when it gets closer to Center City. We have some trolley lines that go out into the suburbs. The high-speed line. And then these gray areas, they're our regional rail system. We have 13 regional rail lines, and most of that dates pre-1900s. So we have a very old system. The only newer system here, we reconstructed a trolley route in the early 2000s, the 15 trolley. But everything else is pretty much the way it was 40, 50 years ago. Actually, it's a little less. The airport line we put in the mid-1980s, but we curtailed service. This used to go, Elwyn line used to go further south, and we cut it off at Elwyn, and the Fox Chase line used to go up further north, and we cut that. So basically, we're running the same service that we have the last 40 years. Let me go back. The design, I talk about the population, 4 million in the whole region. But you look at Philadelphia, which is primarily this area, the population shrunk from 2.5 million to 1.9, almost a 20% drop in the last 40 years. The overall area didn't change. It was still 4 million. So people, as John mentioned, people did the sprawl. They went out to the bigger houses, bigger properties, and at the same time, some of the jobs also relocated down there. The jobs also in Philadelphia decreased from 1.5 million to 1.2 during the same period of time. So you definitely had the sprawl going on. At the same time, our service didn't change. So there's a lot of push to us to continue chasing that sprawl, which was really inefficient from our standpoint. These are some of the cars we operate. Broad Street cars I'll talk about a little later. They're 30 years old now. New commuter rail cars, these are currently being manufactured in Philadelphia by Hyundai Rotem. We're buying 120 cars to replace cars that were purchased in 1963, 1964. Light rail cars that we operate on the Northtown high-speed line, the Market-Frankfurt cars, Stark Broad Street. We use these on the Route 15 that we reestablished, where we rehab these cars from the 1960s. And then we have an extensive bus service. Half our people that take public transit in Philadelphia use buses. Talk about our strategic business plan. We have 7 basic objectives. One is to improve customer service. One is ridership growth. Two is safety and security. Fourth is human capital development. The next one is rebuilding the system. We have a very old system. I can talk about these numbers. We have 350 bridges that we're responsible for, average age of 80 years. We have substations that go back to the 1920s that are usually have a 50-year useful life, that are well past their useful life. So we really have to invest in rebuilding the system. At the same time, we have to invest in new technologies. I was talking the other day about our smart card project. So we're advancing that, but we're also doing a lot on communications to our customers as far as giving them the real-time information that we have in our control center. But the last one is sustainability, which is critical. We did our first sustainability report in January of 2011, actually established our goals, and we issued our annual report January 2012. That guy right there is the mayor of Philadelphia. You might remember he was in law-abiding citizens. He didn't have a speaking role, but he was there. His goal was to make Philadelphia one of the cleanest cities in America. He has a long way to go, but he has a lot of goals, and SEPTA is an integral partner with him to achieve those goals. One of his goals is to reduce energy consumption within his office buildings in the school district by 25% within 10 years. Pretty ambitious goals. But I think I saw this slide was a little early. Our sustainability program is environmental. Reduce resource consumptions, primarily energy consumptions, reuse the resources that are consumed, and recycle the ones that cannot be. We actually, it has a social implication, support livable and sustainable communities. And the big thing that we concentrate on is economic benefit. So whatever we do from a sustainability standpoint has to have a positive economic effect for sustainability for the company. One of the things, and I know this is a Metro conference, but we invested a lot of money in hybrid vehicles. We initially started with 32 as a pilot case to see how they were maintained and see what to get a history on the maintenance, et cetera. And because of that, we continued to invest in hybrids. They come at a premium. They're about 20% higher than a regular diesel bus. But you look at the benefits, fuel efficiency of 40% greater fuel efficiency over a regular diesel. And we think we can get greater useful life. Instead of 12 years, we think we can get 15 years. We have maintenance savings, and the operation is much better than the diesel. Talk about regenerative braking. We're getting the new silver liners. Obviously, they're replacing vehicles that are 48 years old, so they have a better, they're more efficient. But one thing I want to mention, the Broad Street cars, they were 30 years old. We actually recently did a propulsion retrofit to enable them to regenerate, recapture. The upfront cost was $1.7 million, but we think the payback is it's a little over a year, $1.5 million per year. And most of that is in the energy savings. We think we'll have to keep those cars for another 10, 15 years. But we think this is a great investment. The other project that we have two pilots, is to create battery storage to recapture unused or lost regenerated power. And we have two projects of $1.8 million apiece. The first project was half funded by the state government. The second project, 1.4 of the 1.8, was funded by the federal government. We have a partnership with a third party that actually will install the battery and recapture the energy. The goal was to capture 50% of the wasted regen energy. This is a conservative estimate, 10 to 20% savings on the substations. And the goal is, if it does work and we do save the money, that we can replicate that, and we have about 30 other substations we can move this project on. Annual benefit, again, this is very conservative, $260,000 per device with a 10-year useful life of $1.8 million, almost $900,000 positive benefit to us, and as well as reducing energy consumption. But we're doing other things within the organization. We're recycling the trash single stream recyclables. Instead of paying someone to remove the trash, we're actually turning it into a receivable. We're getting $41 per ton. It's not a lot, but it's better than paying money. We recycle waste oil and railroad ties. We don't get money for this, but it used to be we used to store them on the right-of-way or put them in a yard and just let them rot. Now there's a company that actually burns them up and creates electricity through those used ties. Some of the other things, lighting systems, actually we're getting rebates for improving the lighting, installing more efficient lighting, new boilers and chillers. Hazardous waste, we recover platinum from catalytic oxidizers, mercury from fluorescent lamps. We recycle antifreeze on site, recycle vehicle batteries, recycle scrap metals. Water reclamation. 80% of the water that we use to wash our vehicles gets reclaimed and we reuse it, so we add 15%. And that's constant throughout our facilities. We also, when we construct things, we actually take into the energy efficiencies. This was the first LEED silver railroad station in America, at least that's what we were told. It was designed 20% reduction in water use, 30% reduction in electricity. We used sustainable construction materials, and 96% of the construction waste was reused or recycled. And this is our headquarters building. We've done a lot in the headquarters. We actually received the EPA Energy Star Award. We actually have motion sensors. Everyone in the room where you don't leave the card in, the lights go out. Well, we have the same thing in the office. If there's no mobility in there, the lights will go out in the office. So it's pretty interesting. I walk down the hall and see people in the desk with no lights. I don't think there's that much activity going on. But we have a steam cogen plant. It actually converts the steam into electricity for the building. But one of the most important things and the simplest thing we did is the cleaners used to come in after everyone left for work and clean the building. Well, we kept it heated in the wintertime, air conditioned during the summertime. I said, this is ridiculous. We moved everyone on to daytime cleaning, and actually we're able to shut down, reduce the running time of the building by 24%. A very simple thing to do. Overall electricity, you can see the overall reduction since 2008. Well, that's it. We're just an integral part of what the mayor's trying to do in the city, is becoming more clean. I'm on his sustainability council, and he understands the importance of public transportation. But the biggest thing we can do is really get people out of the cars and on the public transit. And we find that in Philadelphia they're starting to do that. This was the first year, last year was the first year we actually had an increase in the population in Philadelphia after years of decline. But we're looking at Philadelphia on the public transit. We had a 13% increase in the last 5 years. We find the younger generation is more interested in the environment. They want to take public transportation. We just have to make it more popular. And $4 a gallon, it doesn't seem like much in Europe, but $4 a gallon in the United States is extremely high, and more people are wanting to take public transportation as opposed to drive. So that's it.